Alright, so this video is going to be about the Marlins and just how I think they perfectly encapsulate how absurd the baseball season, MLB baseball season, can be. They came in with, they overperformed a little bit in 2025, and were a solid team that was, I think they won about just under 80 games. So under 500, but were better than expected. And they had, you could see a young core developing. Kyle Stowers kind of led the way. He was a breakout guy. And then he's dealt with injuries this year and hasn't been played to that level. But, you had a solid Rule 5 pick in Liam Hicks, who was solid but wasn't outstanding, but was, a serviceable player. And, you had Sandy coming back from injury. Yuri, I don't think he got a lot of innings last year, but you know how talented he is. And, you just saw some pieces coming into play, into their own. Xavier Edwards, they moved him over to second. And Otto was a solid, wouldn't say like a, he was a MLB shortstop. He wasn't what he is this year. Xavier Edwards established himself as a solid contact hitting second baseman. So they had some pieces moving forward. Then this year, they played pretty well. Then, kind of slumped before June, but then were the best team in June. Just went on an absolute run. Max Meyer has established himself. Liam Hicks took another step and he's been playing a lot of first base and DH, because Joe Mack has come up and has proven kind of what the scouting report has said, that he is one of the best defensive catchers, already in the big leagues. So that provided them a big boost. I like Griffin Conine, but he has struggled with injuries the last couple years. Sandy definitely has had some peaks and valleys where he looked like prime Sandy, a couple outings, and then had some blow-ups. Yuri the same. I mean, he's still a very young pitcher and has all the talent in the world, but, has some bad starts that can make his season numbers look not as good. But when you see him on any given day, he can look like one of the best pitchers in the world. Like I said, Liam Hicks took another step. Xavier Edwards kept it up to where he's maybe not going to have a super high OPS, but he's going to hit close to 290, 300 and steal you some bases. And he provided, he's established himself as a good defensive second baseman. Otto Lopez leading the league in batting average and hits, playing, I think he grades out as slightly above average, but even if, he's got like an 830 or 850 OPS, and he's a slightly above average shortstop. That's going to be a very valuable player. Like I said, I mentioned Joe Mack, Max Meyer breakout, even Tyler Phillip. They moved him from a relief role into, spot starter they stretched him out over the length of time. But it really is just amazing how fast they can switch. They lost like 12 games in a row in July, and now they're pretty clear sellers. And they've come out, I saw this report today, that's why I wanted to talk to them about them, that everybody but Sandy and Yuri are available. I think when it comes to, that was the report, I think Joe Mack wouldn't be available also. Maybe even Max Meyer. Who else? But just hearing that, like, I think Liam Hicks is definitely going to be moved because of, he's been very good, but his profile is so bat heavy now. And at first base and DH, I think, you got a lot of the guys that can come up and fill that role. You'd hope, at least. Or you could target that in free agency. It's a little bit easier to acquire. And, with Joe Mack he's been surprisingly solid offensively, but you know what he brings defensively. So he's he's going to be a solid, I would say, at least 2 to 3 WAR, even if he's rocking like a 90 WRC plus. So you're kind of solidified at that position. Augustine Ramirez, do you look at him as a first base DH, a guy that can come in, maybe catch a little bit, but kind of fill in Liam Hicks' role, hopefully? Heriberto Hernandez has been really solid. Batting average a little low, but can play some outfield, play some first base. I know he has played some catcher. I haven't seen him. I don't know how well he grades out there. But he's a solid right-handed bat that I think will get moved. Just because I think a lot of teams are going to try to capitalize on how little bats there are available going to be. But when it comes to, I don't think there's any reason to trade Xavier Edwards. I know he's not as valuable as Otto Lopez, but switch hitter, solid defense, good speed. I mean, if you get a good deal for him, I could see it, especially with how the Marlins operate. But I think Otto Lopez is what I've built all this up to talk about. He could be one of the best. I mean, I think the Tigers are going to sell, so Skubal, and then who is like the next best player moved at the deadline? That's the question. And I think Otto Lopez could be like the best position player moved at the deadline. I've seen some, Zach Neto, but I mean, he's definitely better this year. Otto Lopez is better this year. Does Zach Neto have higher upside? Maybe. But they have similar amounts of control. I think they both have like 3.5 years of control. And Lopez has been better this year. He's been linked. The Red Sox looking for a middle infielder. So I think if he was going to be moved, I don't know what the Marlins would value. If they would value, quote-unquote quality over quantity, to where you get a couple headliners and, a couple other solid prospects. So you end up getting like a 4 or 5 for 1. Or for the Red Sox, it's like, hey, Franklin Arias, and then throw in somebody else, who's like a top 5 prospect in some system, not some systems, on some rankings, like in all of baseball. And a guy that looks like he could get up, maybe he just got promoted to AAA, maybe could get up at the end of this year, but for sure next year. And then, obviously have 6 years of service time. Other teams, but Liam Hicks, I mean, there's other fits for, the Yankees are a fit for Otto Lopez, a shortstop. They could throw in they have a lot of solid pitching prospects. Even guys, if they wanted guys that are closer to MLB ready, like LeBron Hay, Elmer Rodriguez, Thatcher Hurd, Ben Hess, a lot of those names. I don't think they would do. George Lombard is interesting, especially because the Marlins just drafted his younger brother. And, you could look at it as, you're trading a middle infielder and looking to replace him, his future replacement, and then more assets on top of that. So the Yankees and Red Sox are interesting fits for Otto Lopez. I think another one that I hadn't even thought about until just now, the Brewers. I think the Brewers, but they already gave Cooper Pratt an extension. Of course, you can move him to third, but they got, they have, like I said, Cooper Pratt. They have Jesus Mate. What's the other one's name? Luis Pena, I think is his name. So they have a lot of middle infield prospects coming up. So, yes, I think it'd be a good fit for this year, but I don't know how much it makes sense, in the next couple years and then, quote-unquote, overpaying for him wouldn't make that much sense with how the Brewers operate. But there's a lot of teams that obviously could use one of the best shortstops in the game. When it comes to catchers, I thought the Rangers would be a really good fit, but maybe they think, I know Logan O'Hoppy's been really bad this year, but they just traded for him and a reliever. But you could look at the Rangers for another fit. The Yankees are also looking to be targeting a catcher. But I think they are looking more. They still believe in Austin Wells with his defense, and they think there's more in the bat, but he's just been so bad this year. But I think they're looking more for a right-handed bat. And it doesn't make any sense for Liam Hicks to DH or play first base because they have Goldschmidt and Ben Rice. Giancarlo coming off the IL, hopefully, in a couple months. So that doesn't make too much sense as a fit if he's not going to actually catch. Which he could, take over the primary roles, and you could look at Austin Wells as a defensive replacement. But I think they're looking more for a right-handed hitting catcher, which Ryan Jeffers, and he's a rental, so that makes a lot of sense for them. But yeah, I mean, they have a couple relievers that could be interesting. I know Fairbanks hasn't been good, but he's got a track record. Can't remember this other guy's name, but he's performed pretty well. I mean, they're going to be full sellers. Yeah, it's interesting. Especially with how far these videos are kind of paced out, and I talked about a little bit about each team, but just how much it can change if you don't give like weekly or even bi-weekly updates on these teams, and how they were the best team in June and they were the worst team in July, and then that. But if that was switched, if they were the worst team in June and the best team in July, right before the deadline, they'd probably be buyers. If they were as hot as they were in June, in July, right before the deadline, they'd be looking to, add to this team, this young core, and really go for it. I don't know besides the fact that they're very cheap, so they're probably looking for upside with team control. They already have a good amount of pitching in the farm system, so I'm assuming they're just looking for upside and with position players or more, more depth in their pitching. But man, the Marlins they're going to be a very interesting end of the year review of wow, how did this, month to month record, and then if you go back and look at reports of in the end of June, they're definitely buying, and then at the July, it's kind of the opposite of the Red Sox, of how they had they were horrible for the first 3 months of the year, legitimately 13 or 15 games under, and then they had a 14-game win streak, and now they're right in the thick of the AL East standings. They're third in the AL East, but they have a wild card spot. The AL East is the only good division in the AL. It's just crazy. And I haven't been watching a whole lot, but I keep up with it. I've been keeping up with my Cardinals a little bit more, and they've been slowing down. But it really is just a awesome sport to follow, and I'm so excited for the deadline, and I'll probably make a lot of videos talking about different trades. And I don't like to I like to watch different content on people giving their takes and stuff like that, but I'm probably going to try and watch or take in a lot of the deadline and look at a lot of the trades and try to give my own opinion on them, and not try to be just piggyback off other people's opinions. And of course, I'm not by any means an expert, but I just don't want it to be if anyone were to watch these videos, be oh wow, that's exactly what this other guy said. I don't want it to be that. So I'm gonna try to do that, and then probably make several videos about who I think had the best deadline and who I think got the best prospect return, or this or that. But thanks for watching, you guys.